Hi you guys, I hope you're having a great week. This video is some gossip on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, as I like to do weekly. And it's mainly about season 12, episode 7. So we're using that as like an anchor. If you like my videos and you want me to keep doing them, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. And join the Patreon. It's so fun. It's like 600 gossipers in there. We're just having a ball. I supply the information and everybody else brings more and more to the table, and it's a really fun environment. It's $6 a month. It's very inexpensive. If that's not your thing, you know, buy a shirt. Be an nosy see you next Tuesday like me. Join the club. All right, so I'm going to start out with an observation about Diana Jenkins that I think is going to make you go, oh, wow. So the Patreons know, by the way, that they sponsor the YouTube. They are very clear that they are buying you guys a present, in a sense. And so I was talking to some of the Patreons last night, and one of them mentioned that I should probably mention in this video something that I missed. And I'm like, thank you. And that is that Diana Jenkins mentioned that she met Asher at a Victoria's Secret fashion show. This is a few episodes back. And that is really wild, because if it had been somebody else, maybe not so much, right? But why that is really wild is Jeffrey Epstein. There are rumors that Diana knew him in social circles. I will leave it there. So in order for you to understand why this was very mind-blowing to many of the patrons that Diana Jenkins met Asher, her much younger man, at a Victoria's Secret fashion show party, was that Jeffrey Epstein used to use Victoria's Secret's runway shows and events as a way to bait women to do allegedly sexual favors for him personally and also for his friends. Okay, so he used it as bait. And to add to that, Epstein paid a lot of money at one point in time, I think it was $1 million, to fund a modeling agency, which was run by a gentleman named Jean-Luc. Now, Jean-Luc ends up committing suicide in a Parisian prison before his trial, because many models started to come forward saying he sexually... I'm allowed to say that word on here. So let's say ST, okay? Like when you're in a car and there's a big line of cars in front of you, that's called a blank jam, right? So what Jean-Luc was being alleged was that he was a sex blank, okay? using models. And a lot of those models, oddly, came out of Eastern Europe. And in fact, he had an agency in Kyiv. He had an outlet in Kyiv. A lot of people don't know that, in the Ukraine. So as you can see, there was legitimate business covering up a large network of models and good-looking women being lied to under the pretense that they're going to get these great opportunities like being Victoria's Secret. It was just to exploit them sexually, okay, and make them do stuff to, or entice them, you know, vulnerable women, to entice them to do things that were, you know, with men that they wouldn't otherwise have done, including Epstein. Anyway, Jean-Luc couldn't handle the humility of it all and hung himself in prison, just like Epstein, or some people think maybe somebody might have helped it along, since all the cameras are off every time someone gets hung in prison, it seems like. Okay, so back to why this is shocking about Diana Jenkins saying that she met Asher at a Victoria's Secret fashion show. Young age to Diana, and also it's especially interesting giving the rumors, again I stress the word rumors, that she has been loosely tied to some sort of ST, okay? You'll see in the media outlets, Diana Jenkins shoots down ST rumors, blah, blah, blah. So it's not me, I'm just sharing them. Don't kill the messenger, Just saying. All right. So I wanted to call that out. Weird. I'm sure many people will wonder always how much Diana interacted with Epstein or Les Wexner or any of those guys, or Jean-Luc for that matter. How much did she interact with them? It will be always on everybody's mind. Unfortunately, which Diana, I think, knows. Okay, another thing I want to say is, did you guys notice that Diana Jenkins licks her lips like every 2 seconds on this episode? I was like, does she have super dry lips? I wanted to hand to her chapsticks through the screen. She was like, every 2 seconds. So, I think that means you're nervous and you're like self-calming or whatever, I think they call it. But yeah, that was weird. Just saying. So Diana also definitely by the end of this episode starts to come off as a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, which I think is actually the first time we're really going to get a feel for what she really is. She's supposedly very nice and classy and humble and doesn't talk about money and all these things she thinks is going to appeal to the fans. And now she's about to become the villain. And she becomes the villain oddly when the book is mentioned. That's the trigger event. So that was interesting. We'll leave that there. I'll let you guys comment below on what you think that is all about. But she's about to get really dark, as usual. Also, I want to say that I did comment in the Patreon about what happened with Philly Diva and Diana Jenkins. Yeah, it's in my bonus audio from Tuesday. I'm not going to do that in this video. I know some of you wanted me to, but I have my reasons. Okay, so let's move on to some other kind of behind-the-scenes drama that's happened this week with Erika Jayne Girardi, and then I'll get into the recap, okay? Yay! Please watch the recap, you guys. Don't just skip out and take the gossip and run. So you may have noticed that Erika Jayne Girardi in last night's episode was wearing the earrings that are in question that she's supposed to be returning to the trustee. This has been a bit confusing in the press for a lot of people because originally it was like the trustee proves that the earrings were paid out of Tom Girardi and Girardi Key's client account. Okay, they managed to build this like evidential trail of this. And then they say, Erika, hand them over, the earrings. And Erika's like, no, I don't want to hand them over, but I will put them in an escrow account and I'm willing to talk about them. And then the press sort of covered this whole thing where it was like Erika's giving back the earrings, like, yay, Erika, right? But the truth was, all it was she was supposed to give them into an escrow account, and that while they kind of disputed this in court, anyway, obviously she didn't hand the earrings in to an escrow account, or maybe she has really recently, but she's definitely wearing them in episode 7. So I did a really in-depth, detailed video about these earrings. I'm going to put the link in the description of this video. It's on YouTube, and you should watch it if you're into it, because these earrings have like a whole story that goes behind them. They were stolen and insurance, a whole bunch of drama. So you should check that out if you're into it. Okay, so then what happens is the trustee goes into court. Erika says that she has just received a $2 million plus tax bill. And while she figures this out with her accountant about her tax bill, because as you guys know, she's claimed that she has, no financial acumen, didn't have a bank account for 20 years, only spent on a credit card, So she basically has no understanding of her entire world of EJ Global and the like. And so she's got to get with the accountant and figure out why she has this huge tax bill to the California Franchise Board. Well, she's saying to the trustee, I need the $2 million. I need the earrings now, which are, estimated. I'm seeing numbers flying around between 750,000 all the way up to 5 million, the trustee's saying, with interest. But basically, she's like, I need the earrings to pay this tax bill. Okay. And the trustee's like, I feel for your situation, lady, but those earrings don't belong to you. They belong to the bankruptcy, and we need to we need to liquidate that money and pay it out to, I don't know. Big question. I don't know who the trustee's paying it to. Is the trustee taking the money and paying it just out to a general list of creditors in a line? Is the trustee taking the money and paying it to the victims that it truly belonged to because it was held in a trust account for them? I really hope it's to the victims directly of that trust account because it was traced to them. If it isn't, it's not really very fair. And I don't like that. I'm just going to say that. I just don't like that. I think it's really not great. Anyway, the trustee went into court and said Erika Jayne knows and has been provided evidence that these earrings were paid from a trust account to do with a bunch of people who took a medicine that were rushed through FDA and had serious health issues and maybe even death from liver problems that resulted from this diabetic medicine that shouldn't have been released because the FDA rushed it through and they were damaged by it. And she's saying Erika knows this. She knows that the money came out of their client account and that was what was used to buy the diamonds. And so by keeping the diamonds, she's doing a felony because you're not allowed to keep something if you know that it's from stolen proceeds of some sort, I guess. This is her argument. And therefore, by keeping the diamonds and knowing they're stolen, she's breaking some sort of law. And that's where the trustee is going. Erika is arguing that you're out of time in bringing this. It's a weak argument. It's not going to stand. The statutory of limitation argument is a really hard one because usually it's from the point where you know that you've been wronged that the statutory of limitation starts. So that's a subjective date, right? But if you filed papers that say, I recognize this or I recognize that in a court of law, then it's less subjective. And so anyway, that's not going to fly. So basically, Erika should just give back the diamond earrings to the trustee and end this. And the trustee is doing her best to corner her to do this. But I don't want you guys putting this in a bow, just assuming the victims are getting it because they may not. So if you go back in my Instagram posts, I don't know, maybe a year ago, you'll see that I had a prediction. And my prediction was that Erika Jayne Girardi was going to go bankrupt. I am telling you, she is holding on to not do it because of the show. The minute the show ends for her, she will. Okay? That's why she's living in a rental. That's why she's not buying any assets. That's why she is holding this as long as she can to get the money out of the show. And she knows it's not going to last forever. And when that's over, she's probably going to clean house and go bankrupt. She can't pay all this. Can't pay it. So it's a matter of time. Unless, of course, she gets a rich guy that can clean this mess up. But I don't think that's happening. Okay, let's get into it. So Crystal's, I don't know. Doree kind of talks to Crystal like she's her bitch at the bar at the end of the last episode. I forgot to mention that in episode 6. It bothered me. Diana Jenkins says that her divorce was the happiest thing she ever went through. Money was never an issue in the marriage or the divorce, was what she said. She made sure to say that. Everybody hear it loud and clear. Anyway, I know a lot about Diana Jenkins' divorce. Again, I'll put in the description link, the link to the deep dive I did with NT part 1 and part 2 in the Patreon. I don't want to repeat myself. I also did a free video that's an in-depth dive into Sutton Strack's divorce. If you want to understand why she said, I want to get out from underneath his thumb. Her husband definitely isn't having the kids on the show. I don't know if you noticed. Kids are on her Instagram, but not on the show. So, and he's got a girlfriend and stuff like that. So, I mean, just sometimes it's tough because if you don't do what your ex wants, they may or may not follow through with all of the requirements that have been put on them by a court. They can make it tough on you, so that's got to be a delicate balancing act with a strong man like Sutton's ex, I'd say. And the kids, as they get older, puts her at more risk. Give some advice to Sutton for me. Tell her not to live at the level of her alimony because it could be pulled from her at any time. It gets riskier and riskier with each year that goes by. So unless she's like living off money she's already received or is making in her store, she should keep her overhead only to that level. Kyle's ex is this guy, and his name is Garash Al-Jufri, and she had Farah, it turns out, with him, which I didn't know. I really thought it was with Mauricio. Crazy. Okay, so I just did a quick, dive on Garash for this video. Allegedly, Kyle met him at a Tina Turner concert when she was 18 years old. And he was an Indonesian businessman who also dabbled in real estate development, I guess, in the US too. And they ended up hooking up and getting married in 1988. She was very young, like she married at 18. And it gets a little strange. She has a baby in the first year of marriage. She gets done with that. Then a year after that, she separates from him. Then 2 years after that, they're divorced in 1992. So this is like boom, 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 boom. I was like, Kyle said the marriage ended because she was too young, I guess meaning immature. Garash never remarried. Kyle, of course, did remarry with Mauricio, and Mauricio took on Farah along with Garash. So he is active in Farah's life, Garash, and so is Mauricio. She's like two dads. And basically, I guess Mauricio and him get along really well, and they help each out in real estate deals. They like throw each other business and clients, and they talk. Kyle stayed on good terms with him, and they're still friends to this day. In case you guys don't know it, this is when I'm going to chime in that Big Kathy, Kyle Richards' mom, was all about the girls getting married to really rich guys as soon as possible. And so when I heard this story, I was like, wow, this is a big missing piece that I didn't have that really helps, unfortunately, validate that allegation towards Big Kathy. Big Kathy was a casting agent, by the way. I don't know if you guys know that. There's a lot about Big Kathy in the Patreon. Oddly, Erika and Sutton become friendly on this episode. They start, like I mentioned, talking about their exes. Erika's like, I'm like a wife of a doctor. I have no control over what he does to his patients. And so, in other words, I'm innocent. I didn't know what was happening. The same story that she's been telling everybody for endless amounts of time. Although, to be clear, there's a lot of evidence that she did know that Tom Girardi was having financial problems. And she definitely was presenting a front that wasn't occurring to help him and his business, Girardi Keys, whether or not she knew to the level that, he was stealing items from client accounts and paying her lavish lifestyle with them. We'll never know, I guess, unless the feds are investigating, and I can't imagine that they aren't. I would say that people keep saying that they're not, but I would say that nobody ever knows what the feds are doing. So I wouldn't count your chickens. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Erika barely drinks when she shot the seasons in the past. She had to be very conscious about what she said and did because, again, she was married to Tom Girardi, and she had to be really conscious that she didn't say something she wasn't supposed to, which alcohol makes you do. And so she was very disciplined when she'd shoot. There's two ways to shoot housewives. One is shit-faced, and two is very alert and on your game so that you can be taking mental notes of what people are saying and doing so you can use it to, like, improv some sort of attack or retaliation later, if possible. So Erika was following this, but it seems now she has stopped. A lot of people believe it's because she doesn't want to answer any more questions about Tom Girardi or the case. So she's just trying to check out, so she's not capable of answering questions during the show. For example, calling your yacht accidentally illegal instead of probably legal, which is probably what it was. So Diana doesn't like Sutton. That becomes clear in the episode. She feels that Sutton always tries to relate with people based on her own problems that she experienced. And Sutton feels like it's an all about me move and it irritates her. She also feels like Sutton's clumsy in her words, and so she just can't stand her. She wants to get away from her a lot in the episode. At least that's how it comes off. Sutton feels it, definitely, and she's starting to recognize that Diana doesn't really like her that much. And so I think we're going to see that, explode soon, which is fun. Diana brags about how many mega yachts she's been on. I feel like I topped Diana. I used to rent the largest yachts in the world to throw parties on them, but I wasn't paying out of my own money. I was paying with sponsorship money or with people who were staying on the boats money. But it's funny. I was like, I could one up you on that one, lady. Anyway, what else? So during Erika's drunken, lit, Xanax-filled excursion on this boat, she talks about how the South is and goes on this tangent about how she's from farmers and her family is all a bunch of farmers and all this stuff. And I just, meanwhile, the ladies in between things are singing It's So Expensive to Be Me, which is Erika's ostentatious song that made her, I guess a lot of people like the song. And so it was a real dichotomy, this section of the thing, but I'm not buying what she's selling. Now I guess she's going to try to become relatable, not because of people aspiring to have her wealth, but instead that she's down to earth and from she's like a full-on farmer now. That's what we're supposed to believe. I can't. At the end of the yacht trip, I was really happy I wasn't on the yacht. It did seem boring. It was boring to watch, and it was boring probably to be on that yacht. Also the repetitive joke about the jellyfish and the peeing, they're obviously trying to set up that it's going to happen, in the beginning of the edit. And then they kind of we see it happen to Diana, but it was anticlimactic. Nothing happened. Diana wasn't that hurt by it. I don't know. The whole thing was just strange. And everybody being so ha ha ha, let's pee on each other. And, oh, I have a question for you. I meant to ask. The question I'm dying to ask you. If Erika and Garcelle pulled up to your house and wanted to have a foursome with you and your husband, would you be excited to hook up and sleep with Erika and her lit pussycat? I, frankly, would lock all the doors and grab bug spray and start spraying everywhere I possibly could in hopes that Erika wouldn't come in. Now, Garcelle I might let in through the side door. My favorite part of the boat was a small part. It was when Sutton said, as everybody's singing It's So Expensive to Be Me, drunk, while their friend Erika is basically dying of a drug overdose and alcohol poisoning next to them. I loved that Sutton said, I'm not celebrating that song. And that was a real nice shout out to the victims. I thought, I'm really glad they kept that in. One last thing is Lisa Rinna says that she reached out to Denise Richards and had what I assess as a pretty neutral conversation with her about her time on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Garcelle doesn't totally believe the story that Lisa tells on camera. She tries to check it. We don't really see the result of that, but it is kind of questionable for sure. Garcelle and Sutton are off camera close with Denise Richards. So it leads us, I guess, as an audience to wonder if maybe she'd come back. I do think Bravo would love to have her back. She quit. Bravo didn't fire her. And I think they definitely would consider it. Wouldn't it be epic if Kyle Richards brings Kim back, and then somehow Garcelle and Sutton convince Denise Richards to come back. That'd be a great season. Lisa Rinna showed signs this week that she's afraid Kathy Hilton is going to attack Harry Hamlin. I'll show you the text. I'll talk about that on my bonus audio this week coming up more, but for the sake of this video, we have to acknowledge it. All right, you guys. Anyway, if you like my videos, like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Because you never know what's going to happen on this channel. Never.